My brother took my 6-year-old daughter's custom glasses, broke them in front of her and said, "That's what happens when you act spoiled." Then he made her pick up trash while everyone watched. I said nothing. But 4 hours later the calls started. Frozen accounts, job suspensions, and... My daughter turned 6 last month. Her name is Lily and she's the kind of kid who makes you forget how messed up the world can be. Sweet, wildly creative and obsessed with fairies. She's been wearing glasses since she was 3, not just any glasses. Custom lenses with transition coating and special temples that don't press on her ears because of a mild condition. She picked them herself. Pale lilac with glittery stars on the sides. She called them her magic specs. The day of her birthday I went all out. Why shouldn't I? I can afford it. I own 2 companies, help fund a third, and lately a few people in the family seem to forget who's been keeping certain things running. The party wasn't just big. It was beautiful. Fairy garden theme with hanging lights, mossy little tables, glowing jars with glitter, live music, and the best part? A treehouse installation with a slide. Lily's face when she saw it, I'll never forget it. She wore a little flower crown and told people she was the queen of the forest. Jack, my older brother, showed up in a hoodie and sneakers. His wife Kelly wore sunglasses the entire time, and their kids looked like they were afraid to speak too loud. They handed Lily a single wrinkled bag with a puzzle inside, from a gas station or maybe worse. My parents gave her an educational workbook. Seriously, a workbook. But Lily smiled and said thank you like she always does. She was glowing the entire day, walking around like she was floating. Until Jack decided he had something to prove. It happened while I stepped away to talk to the balloon artist about a mistake with the display. Lily and a few kids were near the koi pond playing fairy explorers. I turned back just in time to hear a loud crack and see Lily freeze. Jack stood there holding her broken glasses in one hand. He wasn't joking, wasn't yelling. Just looked completely satisfied with himself. "That's what happens when you act spoiled," he said. Loud enough that 3 tables turned to look. "Maybe now you'll learn something." And then he handed her a pair of used rubber gloves and told her to start picking up trash. She did. I don't know how to explain what went through me in that moment. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just walked over, gently took the gloves from her hands, picked her up and left. The silence from the rest of the family said everything. No one moved. My parents didn't say a word. Kelly avoided eye contact. Some of the other guests looked horrified, but no one did anything. At 6 p.m. I sent out a group text thanking everyone for coming and saying the party was over. Everyone left. Jack and his family didn't even try to argue. They probably thought it was over. It wasn't. Around 10 p.m. Jack's phone started buzzing. Then Kelly's. I didn't answer their calls. A few minutes later I got a text from my lawyer, confirming the lockdown had begun. The joint business account, frozen. His name removed from 2 internal platforms. Access to supplier contacts revoked. His pending bonus flagged for review. Kelly's payment processor for her online store under fraud check. By morning Jack's work credentials were suspended. He couldn't access his email. Couldn't log into our server. Then the messages started pouring in. My mother. My father. Even Kelly, who never says anything unless it's about herself. All asking what was going on. I didn't reply. Because I wasn't finished yet. I woke up the next morning to a screen full of missed calls. Kelly. My mother twice. Even my dad, who hasn't called me directly in years. Usually I just get an email about important updates that always somehow benefit Jack more than anyone else. I ignored every single one. Lily was still asleep in my bed. She'd crawled in sometime in the night. No glasses on, one arm around her stuffed fox. Her little face was calm. Not scared. Not confused. Just still. I think something inside her had shifted and it broke me more than her tears did. By 8:30 I was in my office. No makeup. No distractions. I opened my laptop, pulled up our system dashboard and started clicking through every access point Jack had ever touched. Logged him out. Flagged his profile for suspension. Marked his last 3 invoices for legal review. Locked his cloud drive. Then I called IT. Told them to change the admin credentials on every shared resource, especially the high-level ones Jack assumed no one would touch. Next was finance. I asked them to freeze the budget allocations for all side projects under Jack's control. I didn't even need to explain. The head of finance had seen the footage from the party. It had already started circulating quietly among some of our staff who were there. Around 10:15 Kelly called again. Then she texted. Hey Abby. I think there's a glitch with our store payments. Also Jack is having trouble accessing work email. Can you check? I didn't answer. Instead I walked into the kitchen, made Lily her favorite cereal with strawberries and sat with her in silence while she watched cartoons. She still hadn't mentioned the glasses. She just kept touching the spot behind her ear where the temples usually rested. By noon my phone was blowing up again. Jack had apparently shown up at the office. His badge didn't work. His laptop had locked itself. He tried to badge in again and got flagged for security review. Security walked him out. I got an alert about it. I didn't smile. I just stared at it for a moment, then deleted the notification. At 2 p.m. Kelly came to my house. Showed up at the door like nothing had happened, holding a tray of muffins with a little ribbon on top. Lily answered before I could. Kelly bent down and said something I couldn't hear, but Lily just turned and walked away. Kelly looked embarrassed. Told me Jack didn't mean it the way it came out. That he was trying to teach a lesson, and got carried away. I told her the store payments weren't coming back online until I decided I could trust them again. Then I shut the door. The next day I had HR run a quiet review of Jack's team. I didn't expect what came back. 2 formal complaints already sitting in their queue. One from an intern who said Jack screamed at him for asking a question during a client pitch. Another from a vendor who said Jack had tried to undercut their pricing by lying about internal budget cuts, something he had no authority to do. There were screenshots, emails, even a voicemail. By evening my father texted me, "Can we talk? This has gone too far." I replied, "No, it hasn't." Then silence. For 2 days. On the 3rd day Jack emailed me. Subject line, apology. The body was exactly 6 words. I shouldn't have broken her glasses. No greeting. No signature. No apology really. Just a statement. But it was the first time he'd ever admitted to being wrong. I thought about it all day. The next morning my mother showed up at the gate with a small white box in her hands. Inside was a new pair of lilac glasses, almost identical to the ones Jack had snapped in half. She said she drove 2 hours to find them. She didn't apologize. But I didn't need her to. Not yet. Later that week I found a note in my mailbox. From my dad. Handwritten, which he hasn't done in years. He said he was sorry for not stepping in at the party. That he froze. That he realized they'd let Jack get away with too much for too long. That he understood if I didn't forgive them right away. And then Jack showed up. Didn't try to come in. Just stood at the gate and asked if he could say something to Lily. I told him not today. Maybe not ever. He nodded and left. After that, things started changing. Kelly sent Lily a charm bracelet with a card that said, "Every girl deserves to feel magical." Jack stopped trying to get back into the systems. My parents called just to check on Lily, not to defend anyone. And for a moment it felt like they were starting to understand. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But they were learning. The weeks after that were quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful. It felt staged. Jack didn't call. Kelly stopped texting entirely. My parents suddenly remembered how to be polite. Every message was careful, neutral, almost rehearsed. At work the difference was immediate. Meetings ended on time. People talked without waiting for permission. One manager told me she forgot what it felt like to be listened to. Jack had always sold himself as essential, but the truth showed up fast once he was gone. Productivity went up. Complaints disappeared. Lily adjusted faster than I expected. She wore her new glasses proudly and called them her battle glasses, like they had survived something important. She didn't ask about Jack. Not once. But I noticed she stopped waving at people first. He waited now. A few parents from the party reached out. Quiet messages. One told me her son asked if grown-ups are allowed to punish kids who have nice things. Another said she wished she had stepped in but froze. I didn't respond to most of them. I wasn't angry at them. I was just tired. About 3 weeks in, Kelly called. She asked if she could stop by to drop off Lily's birthday card. The one they forgot to give her. I almost said no. Then I said yes. They stayed exactly 10 minutes. Jack barely spoke. Kelly smiled too much. Lily said thank you and went back to her room. When they left, Jack nodded at me like we were co-workers passing in a hallway. A few days later my parents invited us to dinner. I said no. Then I sat with that answer for an hour and changed my mind. Not because I missed them. Because I wanted to see if they were actually different when Lily was in the room. They were. My mom complimented Lily's drawing without correcting her colors. My dad listened while Lily explained her fairy village in exhausting detail. Jack didn't interrupt. Didn't joke. Didn't look at his phone. Kelly kept redirecting the conversation whenever it drifted too close to money. At one point Kelly pulled me aside and said she should have said something at the party. That she didn't realize how bad it looked until later. That Jack was under stress. That she wasn't making excuses, just explaining. I didn't argue. I didn't forgive her either. I just listened. After that night little things started happening. My mom sent Lily a book about fairies with glasses on the cover. My dad emailed me articles about child development. Jack stayed silent. Kelly started signing her text with heart emojis like that fixed things. I hated that part of me wanted to believe it. A week later, my mom sent me a message saying she was proud of Lily for being so well-behaved at dinner. That word stuck with me. Well-behaved. Like survival was manners. Then my dad mentioned transferring a small property into Lily's name someday. Said it was important for her future. Said she deserved security. I started letting my guard down. Slowly. Carefully. And then my grandmother called. She almost never calls. She mails cards. Actual cards. With crisp bills inside like time stopped for her somewhere around the late 90s. But this time her voice was low. She told me she had dinner at my parents' house the night before. Said she went to the bathroom while they were cleaning up. Said she came back out and heard voices from the kitchen. She didn't mean to listen. But she did. He said Jack was laughing. Said Kelly joined in. Said my parents were there too. Talking about how I overreacted. How Lily was going to be spoiled rotten if someone didn't step in. How breaking the glasses was wrong but not that wrong. She said Jack joked that at least now Lily knew the world doesn't bend for rich kids. My grandmother told me she stood there holding onto the hallway table because her legs felt weak. Said no one noticed her until she cleared her throat. Said the room went silent. Then she left early. When she finished telling me, she asked one question. Did I still think they had changed? I didn't answer right away. But something inside me closed. After that call with my grandmother, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just went cold. It was like something inside me finally stopped giving. The next morning, I made 3 phone calls before Lily even woke up. First, to my lawyer. I told him to freeze everything related to my father's property transfer plan. No paperwork, no title shifts, no conversations. Second, to our head of finance. I had Jack's remaining residual bonuses flagged and rerouted for internal audit. Third, I called a realtor. Just to ask what it would take to sell the lake cabin. The one the family always pretended was ours, though my name's the only one on the deed. I hadn't planned to make moves that fast, but the phone call with my grandmother changed something. They laughed. Laughed about my daughter's glasses. Laughed about me overreacting. I couldn't get that out of my head. I didn't send any warnings. No messages. No dramatic declarations. I just stopped. I pulled Lily out of the boutique private school she was in and transferred her to a different one across town. One with fewer whispers, fewer matching outfits, and 0 kids whose parents shared wine with Kelly on Friday nights. Jack's number? Blocked. Kelly's too. My mom's I left open for 2 days. Then she sent me a text that just said, "Can we talk? This is hurting everyone." I blocked her before I finished reading it. My dad stayed quiet. He always does when it matters. 4 days later, my mom showed up at the gate holding a lemon loaf and wearing that smile she uses when she's trying to sell fake peace. She pressed the intercom and said she just wanted to talk. Said she was worried about Lily. Then she slipped. She said Grandma had twisted everything, and that they already had a talk with her about spreading exaggerated stories. I froze. They had turned on her. The one person who actually had our backs. I texted my grandmother right after. She called instantly. I could hear it in her voice. The hesitation, the shame. She said she was uninvited from Thanksgiving. That Jack told her to stop meddling. That my mother told her to stop making things worse than they are. I invited her to dinner that night. She brought Lily a fairy coloring book and cookies. Lily sat next to her the whole time. My grandmother said very little. Just looked around our house like she hadn't been in a place that felt safe in a while. Later that night, after Lily went to bed, I got an alert on my phone. Someone had tried logging into my home security system. 4 attempts from an unknown device. Then 2 hours later I got another one. Same IP address. Then another the next morning. They were using an old password. One Jack had helped me set up 5 years ago when I was traveling a lot. I hadn't changed it since. I locked everything. Changed every setting. Added 2-factor on every account, including Lily's school portal. Then I had a sudden thought. I asked my assistant to pull the activity logs on Kelly's store backend. The online shop she begged me to help her launch last year when no bank would approve her merchant account. I still owned the payment processor account tied to it. I'd meant to hand it over officially but hadn't gotten around to it. That's when we saw it. 5 days earlier, someone had submitted a digital form requesting a change of ownership. My name was typed in. Signature box filled. But I didn't sign anything. They forged my signature. To steal control of a platform I created. The fake apology. The charm bracelet. The carefully worded text messages. The fake concern. They didn't want peace. They wanted access. They thought if they smiled wide enough I'd hand the keys back. Maybe I would've. If my grandmother hadn't called. If she hadn't stood in the hallway long enough to hear them laughing. The next day I called our in-house fraud team and flagged the form. Then I had my assistant send a cease and desist letter to Kelly, quietly and directly. By the time dinner rolled around, Lily had already forgotten about her old school. She asked if Grandma could visit again and if we could bake cupcakes this time. I told her yes to both. That night, I poured a glass of wine, closed every tab on my laptop, and deleted every contact in my phone with my last name. Then I blocked them all. For good. I had been generous, patient, forgiving. But this wasn't a grudge anymore. This was self-defense. The silence was deceptive. For almost 2 weeks it felt like things had settled. Not repaired, just quiet. Like the way a house feels after an argument that never really ends. You still walk through it but nothing feels the same. Lily was adjusting. Her new school wasn't fancy, but it had a real garden, a weird art teacher who let them paint upside down, and a reading tree in the library. She came home smiling again. There were no whispered comments about her backpack, no questions about what brand her lunchbox was. Just kids being kids. I was adjusting too. I got more sleep. My assistant told me I sounded different on calls. Lighter. I wasn't waiting for the next emotional ambush. I didn't reach out to anyone in my family. I had nothing left to say. And then my grandmother called. She asked if I could drive her to my parents' house to pick up a sweater she'd left behind weeks ago. Said they finally responded to her texts. Said she just wanted to grab it and leave. I didn't want to go. I really didn't. But she looked worn down lately, like she was carrying more than she let on. So I said fine. We pulled up to the house. She went in. I stayed in the car. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I got out, annoyed but not surprised. I didn't expect the door to be unlocked. I stepped inside and heard voices from the back of the house. Not angry ones. Calm, plodding ones. I stopped in the hallway just behind the kitchen wall. Jack was there. Laughing. Kelly too. My mother. My father. All of them. They weren't just gossiping. They were planning. Jack was talking about a former investor I'd cut ties with years ago. Someone he wanted to reach out to, maybe stir up old drama. Kelly said something about screenshots of emails I'd sent during my pregnancy, things they could frame a certain way. My mom, she was nodding, saying how sad it was that I'd shut them out, and that maybe this would get her attention. My dad asked if anyone had spoken to the lawyer about the trust. The trust. The one I set up for Lily, the one only I had access to. That's when I stepped back. Fully. Quietly. I didn't even wait for my grandmother. I texted her to meet me outside. When she got in the car, she looked at me and didn't ask a single question. I think she saw it in my face. That night, I opened a private drive I'd been keeping for years. Inside were receipts, emails, screenshots, dates, times, transfers. I opened a file I hadn't touched in a long time, one labeled Family Contributions. It listed every financial favor I'd ever extended to them. Loans I knew wouldn't be repaid. Business setups. Emergency bailouts. Tuition help. Credit card payments. Rent deposits. Unused gift cards. Holiday flights. Medical bill coverage. Every number carefully documented, down to the cent. $417,983.21. I stared at that number for a long time. Not out of anger. Just disbelief. They called me spoiled. Entitled. Overreacting. But they were living off me like parasites, smiling while they drained the account. And now they were trying to spin it. Turn me into the villain. The next morning I met with my financial team. I locked down Lily's trust with multiple layers of security. Set access limits on every shared platform. Transferred any co-owned digital asset into my name alone. I called the firm that helped launch Kelly's boutique and had them officially remove her from any licensing I covered. She'd be getting a termination notice by the end of the week. Then I called my lawyer. Told him I wanted a clean break. Not just emotionally, financially. No more shared assets. No more access. Nothing. That night Lily and I baked cupcakes. I didn't mention the day. I didn't explain the phone calls. I just let her pour sprinkles like nothing was wrong. Then at 10:42 p.m., a letter was slid under my door. No postage. No envelope. Just a folded piece of paper. Kelly's handwriting. It wasn't a real apology. It was something else. She said she was sorry for underestimating how far I'd go, and that she never imagined I'd be the one to cut the cord. She said Jack was spiraling, that my mother was heartbroken, that they were trying to figure out what went wrong. And then at the bottom, I hope you remember that family is still family. I read it twice, then folded it back and placed it in a drawer with the rest of the letters I'll never answer. Because they were right about one thing. I did change. They just never thought I'd stay that way. After that letter I waited. I don't even know what for. Maybe some final attempt to force a resolution or a louder breakdown. But nothing came. No knock on the door. No message. Just nothing. The silence was heavy this time. Not like before. This wasn't peace, this was aftermath. I'd cut off my brother. My parents. My connection to that side of the family completely. I locked them out of everything. Social, financial, legal, emotional. And yet for a while I still caught myself checking over my shoulder. Wondering what they were saying now that they knew I was done. And the truth is, it got to me. Not the guilt. Not the fear. Just the exhaustion. I didn't want to have to keep defending myself for protecting my child. I didn't want to constantly explain why respect wasn't optional. Why breaking a 6-year-old's glasses and making her pick up trash in front of her friends wasn't some life lesson. It was cruelty. Some nights I couldn't sleep. I'd replay everything. The party. The silence. The intercom buzzing. The conversations behind walls I wasn't supposed to hear. I started turning down invites. Skipping calls. Ignoring emails from people who used to be friends with the whole family. I didn't know who to trust anymore. I didn't know who still believed them. Lily noticed. Kids always do. She started asking fewer questions about them. Started saying things like, "It's okay, we have enough people now," when we'd bake cookies and only make 3 instead of 12. She didn't cry. But one night she asked if she did something wrong. That broke me. I hugged her for what felt like hours. Told her the only mistake was mine, for waiting too long to choose her over everyone else. A few days later she came home with a drawing. It was just the two of us standing on a little hill under a rainbow. No crowd. No grandparents. Just us in a fox and glasses. She handed it to me and said, "This is what home looks like now." And something inside me finally settled. Not everything healed. I won't pretend it did. I still wake up some mornings angry, still think about the money I gave them, the loyalty I wasted. I still get sick when I think of them laughing behind my back while plotting how to use me again. But I stopped blaming myself for loving people who didn't know how to love back. I unfollowed every account that showed me family dinner tables filled with fake perfection. I stopped comparing. Instead, I started building something different. Not bigger. Not flashier. Just real. We started going on short weekend trips. Places where no one knew our names. Small towns with bookstores and muddy trails. Lily wore her fairy crown in the middle of restaurants, and I didn't tell her to take it off. I started sleeping again. Not through the night, not always. But enough. And when I'd feel that pull, the guilt, the sadness, the second-guessing, I'd open Lily's drawing. Because she was right. This was home now. It wasn't perfect. But it was safe. And quiet. And ours. And that was enough.